This is the Bottom Shot Podcast.
Pulvereri is up high. They come out of turn number 4. Stutter between the turns. The fans come to their feet.
It is Ted Christopher still in command. Keith Rocco right there on his back bumper.
Bringing Stafford Motor Speedway's past and present together.
They are side by side running for the finish line. It's a photo finish.
Deep into turn number 3. He goes in deeper than most. Christopher is in trouble. It is Keith Rocco to slingshot to the bottom, and he'll take down the win.
A Stafford Motor Speedway production where we will hear from the personalities from the past and present that found success on the legendary half-mile oval.
The scoreboard shows goose eggs as they wait. It's Pulvereri. He wins it by inches over Richie Evans in the Spring Sizzler.
Unbelievable chain of events.
Now, here are your hosts, Paula Root and Kyle Rickey.
The 2020 late model season at the Stafford Motor Speedway, one of the most competitive that we have seen in recent memory. Some new winners, a lot of different winners, and one dominant driver that ultimately took home the championship. And Adam Gray. And Adam, first off, welcome to the Bottom Shot Podcast, and congratulations on your 2020 late model championship.
Thank you, guys. I'm happy to be here with you.
Hanging out here in the shop, a cozy shop, but it gets the job done. It's where the magic is made. We got 3 cars here that we're surrounded by. Pretty cool little shop you got going on here.
Yeah. I mean, we've been in here forever. Leon added on to the regular work side. I work on the other side all day long, and the race car's been here ever since.
So this is the Bottom Shot Podcast. So we have to start off and kind of get the back story of your career. Mm-hmm. When you've been around the sport for a long time, but kind of tell us how you got started in racing. When was the first time you were at a racetrack?
Oh God, first time I was at a racetrack, I was probably my little guy's size. Before that, actually.
We should introduce your little guy. He's in the
Come
shot
on, bud.
now.
Step up here. Wave to the camera.
Give us a wave.
So, growing up, going to Riverside with my father and watching there and Monadnock. And I started racing go-karts at Whip City in Westfield.
On the dirt.
On the dirt. And then we went to Pinnacle and Chicopee. And then I got in the first full-size car up at Monadnock.
What's your earliest memory of going to the races? First time. I mean, you mentioned Riverside Park was probably the venue.
Yep. I mean, it was... You go there, you ride on the rides.
I was just going to ask that. It must be tough to go to the races and not get on the roller coaster that we see in the background.
You would. I remember going there. A bunch of all us little kids would go, and we'd go out in the park, and come racing time, we'd all get back to watch the racing.
And so you debuted in a car though at Monadnock or Riverside?
So, at Monadnock.
Talk to us about the first time in a race car, and that's always the first experience. You're going from a go-kart to a full-size car at the banks of Monadnock. What was that like?
I actually, the first time in a full-size car, I wasn't even of age yet. lied by a couple months, anyways.
Ain't that always the case on these?
That never happens.
And the first time ever in the car, I finished second. It was an enduro car, full-size metric car. So
was it immediate? I'm hooked. I have to do this?
Of course.
Isn't that always the case?
From there, you got the enduro car. Probably not a whole lot of rules that go into those cars and into those races. What's the next move up from there?
So from them, I ran a full season with that.
Yep.
I won 3 races. That's all you were allowed at the time. And then the following year, I moved up to strictly stocks, which is like today's street stocks. Had a decent season. Did some learning, tore some stuff up.
And so you are in that class for a long time, and you're around the Monadnock track for a long time, which is much different than Stafford. 2 championships at Monadnock?
1 championship.
Monadnock. And then eventually you make your way a little bit south to Stafford, totally different. What kind of pushed you to go to Stafford initially, and how did you take to the half mile? So
actually what happened is the year we won the championship, they were combining the street stocks and late models together.
Oh, okay. Didn't know that.
Backing the late models up, bringing the street stocks ahead, kind of like a limited late model.
Okay.
That type of deal. Because that's virtually in the middle of the street stocks and late models. And they told second place down they could move down, and they told us we had to move up.
Oh.
So we moved out.
Moved out. I like. So talk about going to Stafford
Yeah.
for the first time. Obviously,
I remember when that car came. It was the red. It was a red car, right? Didn't you have a red car first?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep. First couple of years were a little bit rough.
Yeah.
Tore some stuff up on my own.
Yeah.
Tore some stuff up with some help.
And what years are we looking at about this point?
That was I believe it was 07 or 08.
Okay, so it's been a while.
Because I think it was 06 I won the championship at Monadnock.
Yeah.
It was 06 or 07, somewhere's right around that vintage. And, when we went down there, we actually retired this car. And that realistically sat in a chicken coop.
This car did. This
Yep.
chassis.
Yep, this car here, we, took the drivetrain out of it and it rolled out. I actually sat in a little garage across the way, and we built a brand new tube car. We had okay runs, some learning curve, and some issues, and finally I kept telling these guys, I said, this car just don't work for me. And we threw this one back together for the last couple races, and we went out and the car was good, and we've been with it ever since.
Talk about the transition from the small track to Stafford, because I know listeners, like some will know the differences between the two, but Monadnock is a really tight small track. It's banked. Stafford's long straightaways, different corners, very challenging. How did you transition? How was that?
It was a tough transition.
Yeah.
The first practice, I went out on the track like halfway down the straightaway. I'm like, all right, where's the corner? And it was a big learning curve. It was like I felt like I had time to have a coffee and read a book on the straightays.
Pretty much,
Virtues like Monadnock was. It happened so quick. I mean, you're getting around there, and 13.2, 13.3, I think was roughly the times back then, and and then going to Stafford, twice the size. So it was a big learning curve.
Were there any drivers you kind of followed or watched to kind of learn at that time?
It's funny because I brought it up a couple times this year. When I started, I mean, I had the best of the best to learn from.
Yeah.
I mean, I
It was
had
a good group of guys.
Woody Pitcat, Ryan Pisacco, Corey Hutchins, Jimmy Peterson.
Santarski out there still?
No,
Or
Chuck
is he-
wasn't out there
done?
still. But I mean, I had virtually the best to learn from. I mean, Dylan Moltz. I mean, so I had that whole group where I learned a lot of things from them, and I feel like that's what has helped me.
Ultimately, to now 3 championships at the racetrack, 22 wins stemming from 2011 to this year. What do you remember about the first win? Finally getting that first Stafford checkered flag.
It was probably one of the best feelings racing because, like I said, we struggled for quite some time, and when we were finally able to get it done, it was like, all right, now we can concentrate on going further. So, and that was actually with the first one I had was with the tube car.
Yep.
And I think we had 3 wins with that overall, and the rest have been with this antique.
And looking at the stats here, it's actually interesting. You've had 3 6-win seasons. All 3 are titles.
Yep.
Is it just that the team clicks in those seasons? Is there something special you have that you could maybe pass along to me?
Honestly, it's funny because the crew, everybody laughs about it. I mean, it just this car is just so comfortable. I love the way it drives, and it's how you got that old pair of shoes that your toes are hanging out of, and you just don't want to get rid of them.
They feel right.
Yeah, that's how this is, and it's funny because like with the other car, if it was off a little bit, it was off. Where this one here, if it's off a little bit, I know I can still get it done.
Interesting. And these cars are a challenge to drive, period. I'd say they're probably, if you can drive a Stafford late model and go fast, you can probably drive anything, in my opinion. Maybe tell the listeners a bit about, you've driven pro stocks, at cars, all kinds of cars. What is a Stafford late model like behind the wheel?
It's funny because like you get in a pro stock, they got so much power, they handle so good, they got good brakes. Like you have the whole package, but you have to have a lot of finesse. You can't manhandle it, slower's faster. The ACT car is virtually the same thing. It's more or less a little bit lower class pro stock, a little less horsepower, a little less tires. You get to the late model, it's still a mid 80s GM product chassis. You still got factory size brakes on it, and got a little bitty treaded tire, so you're able to manhandle it a little bit, but you still got to be able to maintain and finesse it to get there at the end.
I mean, they're a blast to drive, in my opinion, and it's fun to race with. I mean, it's rough. I mean, everyone sees it, but it is a blast out there.
Yeah, I mean, it's a full fender division. I mean, it's
old school.
Grew up watching watching races in the I was born in '87, so really starting to watch early '90s, and I remember on TV watching these cars when they had the factory bodies on them. So it's kind of cool that they've held on that long. And it's like you said, they're a blast to drive. Obviously, as a driver, would I like better brakes and bigger tires? Of course. Yeah. But it's something to help even the playing field, I feel.
Stafford is modified country. Riverside Park was modified country. So what brought you to the Fender route?
That's it. My father's always ran Fender cars. He's had a couple runs in modifieds. And like I said, when I started, it was a mid-'80s Buick Regal in the Enduro division. And, I've kind of been stuck with this style chassis ever since. I did a couple years in a row. We went up on our little hiatus. We went up to Maine, and I ran a pass mod. So that was my first.
Those are like a skinny tire mod, right?
Yeah, 9-inch tire. It's like an IMCA mod. Yep. Some of the cars have factory snouts on it, metric snout, Nova snout, stuff like that. Steering box, which is a huge difference. They're a blast.
And so you mentioned the time off from Stafford there for a bit. Took about, 3 seasons off from Stafford? Probably even longer.
Yeah, it was longer. It was 2015.
We don't have to get in why you left exactly, but we were glad when you came back. But tell the listeners kind of why you came back and kind of what drove you and the team to come back and get that trophy.
So Leon, who is like my second father, is my dad's best friend. Like my little guy's grandfather, his second grandfather, and would kind of bounced around and played around with some other stuff here and there, and he had some health issues, and he made me promise him I'd go back and get him a trophy. And unfortunately, he wasn't here to see the first trophy back, but we kept on a tear so we could do it.
And you returned in 2019, last year?
Yep. Came
back. Wasn't supposed to be full time this year, right? When initially you returned to the racetrack when we reopened up the track in June.
Yep. It was supposed to be part-time season. I think it was the second or third race. There was going to be conflict with my father's racing, and it ended up raining out. Yep. And kind of stuck ever since. There was like last year I ran the Oxford 250. That was something I wanted to do. Yeah. I mean, that's a blast. That's just a cool weekend.
Did you get in the race?
Yep.
You made it in there. That's a big accomplishment in itself.
17th, 18th, something like that.
Solid.
So, drove in through the qualifier. So it was kind of, that's why we were planning on running a partial season this year, so we could go, Loudon with the ACT cars, go to the 250. But we got kind of in that role with some decent races, and
the car was going good. I mean, that car turned the center like nobody's business.
Like I told you, it's like an old pair of shoes.
And so I want to ask how the division changed from when you left to now, because the cast of characters is totally different. The racing, I'd probably say, is similar, but there's not only guy that's probably out there that was out there before. It was Tom Fern.
Yeah,
Mambo if he shows up.
Mambo, Bennett. There was a handful of guys that were there when I was running. The car's definitely big change. Between the tires, the sway bar, rear spring rules, wasn't a ton of rules difference, but it made a huge difference driving wise. And last year when we came back, it took us a couple races, and we finally found what me and the car needed, and it worked.
You said postseason of the 3 championships, this was the toughest. Why?
The competition at Stafford is phenomenal. I mean, it was. I feel like this year it was more luck than being good. It's 20, 22 cars every week, and realistically, 15, 16 of them could have a shot.
Yeah, I think we had 8 different winners this season, which is I don't know how many classes.
Heck, even you got to win.
I mean, lightning does strike. I was going to say something, but I'm going to hold my breath. What I was going to say. No, but it's how many classes in the country do you see 8 different guys get a win over 14 events? I think it shows how tough it is, and I mean, a lot of talent, a lot of people graduating up from other divisions. We spoke to Durand. He's about to embark on another late model quest. And I told him to get himself prepared for some battling out there, but it's a fun division.
Yeah, it's like I said, I might be a little bit partial, but I feel like the late model racing at Stafford is probably one of the best Fender competitions in the country.
You won the championship with 54 points, but it all wasn't easy. I mean, you had a couple of rough weeks there in September. I mean, was there ever a thought of, man, there's a chance I could blow this?
You know what? Honestly, we were going for wins, going to have fun.
Yeah.
To be 100% honest, the biggest points battle that I looked at all year was the Division II.
Yeah, the national.
And it was, I paid a lot of attention to that more than the track stuff. I'd glance and kind of figure out what we needed to do. But yeah, it was difficult. It definitely wasn't a walk in the park. None of them were. But when you have them couple bad finishes towards the end of the season, you're like everything.
Fire.
Yeah, that was pretty big.
It's like, have the week where we got torn up on the back stretch and then come back, and I think we came back and won.
Yep.
And then
it was every other week, your numbers were just.
It was funny. I was laughing. I'm like, I felt like Ricky Bobby. I either win or I wreck.
So there's no banquet this year, so you don't have to write a speech. But
Even better.
We do want to allow you the opportunity to thank all the folks behind this championship effort here in 2020.
Perfect. I gotta thank Meadows Motor Car, Land's Auto Repair, Holly's Auto Body and Repair, Rick's Auto Body, Greg Orland Construction, Statewide Auto Auction, Barco Automotive, High Tech Transmission. I got to look here, cheat a little bit. Napa, everybody that's involved at the track, Joe Ham, Donnie from Rad for the awesome power this year, and my crew. I mean, I couldn't do it without the crew. They are 100% the guys that are behind it. They come and bust their butts so I can go and have fun.
Nice. So is there going to be a 2021 title defense?
We're going to try. So
I like that.
I have too.
Yeah, that's going to be entertaining.
It'll be fun. It always is entertaining with the late models at the Stafford Motor Speedway.
On behalf of all of us at Stafford, congrats on the title.
Thank you, guys.
You're a great champion. We're glad to have you guys back at Stafford, and we look forward to seeing the car in victory lane down the road.
We're glad to be back. Thank you, guys.